Family, welcome back to the Royal Sussex Squad, your number one home for truth, justice and support for our Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Harry and Meghan. As always, we're here to cut through the noise, call out the hypocrisy and remind the world that the smear campaigns, the political stunts and the media circus don't stand a chance against truth, compassion and integrity. Now today's story, it's a wild one. We're talking about Mailman. Yes, that's her real name, Stephen Miller's former right-hand aide, who decided to hop on a New York Times podcast and create a new insult, something she calls Meghan Markle Syndrome. According to her, Meghan represents what she calls a culture of victimhood, and she mocked Meghan for supposedly manufacturing trauma in order to succeed. Can you imagine a woman who literally spent her career tearing down diversity, equity and inclusion in universities now wants to throw shade at Meghan Markle, one of the most successful, dignified and inspirational women of our time? Let's break this down slowly because there's so much here. First of all, Mailman wasn't just some random pundit making offhand comments. She was Stephen Miller's top aide in the Trump administration, the same Stephen Miller who was the architect of some of the harshest immigration policies in modern history. These are the same people who pushed bans, tore families apart and waged war against diversity and progress. And now this same woman, fresh out of the White House, decides her big brain contribution to American culture is to coin Meghan Markle Syndrome. Do you see the playbook? When they attack Meghan, they're really attacking diversity, progress, women's empowerment, and anyone who dares to stand up for themselves. Now, let's really pause here, because Meghan Markle has never manufactured trauma. Meghan spoke truth to power. She told the world about her struggles with mental health, about the racism she faced from the UK press, about the dismissive cruelty of the institution when she was pregnant and vulnerable. She shared these truths not because she wanted to be special, as Mailman put it, but because she wanted to survive, because she wanted to live, and not just for herself, but for her children, for Archie and Lilibet. And let's remember something very important. If Meghan had stayed silent, if she had suffered in silence, the same media and political class that's mocking her now would have turned around years later and said, "Why didn't she speak up? Why didn't she tell us what was happening?" They would have twisted it no matter what she did. So when Mailman claims Meghan is somehow benefiting from victimhood, let's ask the real question. Who's really benefiting here? Meghan's truth-telling opened the door for global conversations about racism, mental health, misogyny and the outdated nature of monarchy. Meanwhile, Mailman, Trump and their circle are using Meghan's name as a dog whistle to rile up their base, distract from their own scandals and score cheap points. Meghan isn't the one exploiting trauma, they are. And did you catch the hypocrisy? Mailman complains that Meghan gets to be special because she spoke about pain, but then she laughs bitterly, saying, "She has a TV show. I don't have a TV show." Excuse me? So this is really about jealousy. This is really about envy. Meghan is thriving. Meghan is building businesses, raising children and standing proudly in her truth. And Mailman, she's sitting on a podcast angry that she's not the one on Netflix. And family, it gets worse, because this isn't just Mailman ranting. Eric Trump also jumped in. He called Harry and Meghan spoiled apples and even suggested deporting Prince Harry if his father's machine regains the White House. Can we just sit with that for a moment? Deport Harry. The man who served 2 tours in Afghanistan, who risked his life for his country, who built Invictus to uplift wounded veterans from across the globe. They want to deport him as a political stunt. It's disgusting. It's beneath the dignity of any civilized society. And yet here they are saying the quiet part out loud. And then Donald Trump himself during the campaign chimed in with his usual misogyny. He said he wouldn't deport Harry because he has enough problems with his wife. She's terrible. Again, this obsession with vilifying Meghan, painting her as some evil mastermind, some Jezebel leading Harry astray. This is textbook sexism and racism wrapped in a political bow. Meghan is not terrible. Meghan is principled. Meghan is eloquent. Meghan is courageous. What's terrible is the way she is constantly used as a punching bag by powerful men and women who fear the light she shines. So let's expose what's really happening here. When they say Meghan Markle Syndrome, what they really mean is, We don't like women who speak up. We don't like black women who challenge the status quo. We don't like progress. We don't like seeing someone who was supposed to stay quiet, stay small, and stay grateful for crumbs, actually thriving on her own terms. That's what this is. Meghan's success, her independence, her joy, her ability to rise above hate, triggers people like Mailman, Eric Trump and Donald Trump because it dismantles the lies they've been selling. Now let's think about the bigger picture. Meghan is not just surviving, she's thriving. She's launching successful projects like American Riviera Orchard. She's stepping into media on her own terms. She's raising a beautiful family. And she and Harry are continuing their charitable work through Archewell. Meanwhile, the critics are on podcasts and TV shows crying about Meghan using her name to stay relevant. Who's really winning here? And family? Let's not forget the power of narrative. Meghan is a global icon and they know it. That's why they attack her, because she represents everything they fear: resilience, diversity, compassion and progress. Now I want to say this clearly. Meghan Markle Syndrome is not what Mailman says it is. Meghan Markle Syndrome is what happens when insecure, bitter people project their own failures onto a woman who refuses to be broken. Meghan is not the syndrome, she is the cure for silence, the cure for invisibility, the cure for oppression, and that is why they fear her. So the next time we hear Trumpworld or the British tabloids or whoever trying to spin their little narratives, remember this: they're telling on themselves. Meghan has the life, the platform, the love, the family and the global respect they wish they had. That's why they attack her. And let me end on this. Harry and Meghan are not just surviving the noise, they are building a legacy rooted in love, service, truth and courage. No insult from a failed politician's aide, no cheap soundbite from Eric Trump, and no misogynistic jab from Donald Trump can erase that. Family, let's keep standing with Harry and Meghan. Let's keep calling out the hate, exposing the hypocrisy and lifting up the truth. And if you want to support the work we're doing here on Royal Sussex Squad, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you can, drop a donation via Super Thanks. It really helps keep this platform alive so we can keep pushing back against the hate and lifting up the truth about our Duke and Duchess. Mailman, Stephen Miller's former top aide, ridicules Meghan Markle Syndrome. Trumpworld legal star Mailman has publicly mocked what she called Meghan Markle Syndrome and accused the Duchess of Sussex of manufacturing trauma in service of success. Mailman, a close lieutenant of MAGA ideologue Stephen Miller, whose focus until she left the administration last month was on attempting to wipe out DI in US universities, delivered the extraordinary salvo in a podcast with the New York Times. Markle has long served as a useful rhetorical target for those who deplore what they see as the politics of self-victimhood and grievance. However, Mailman's assault carries institutional weight, given that the 37-year-old Harvard-educated lawyer was the architect of the Trump administration's offensive against diversity, equity and inclusion, DEI, on university campuses. She wrote the executive order signed on day one of Trump's second term redefining sex to acknowledge only two genders. Meghan Markle takes media coverage every personally. Her strategy, deployed through federal levers, has intimidated independent institutions, infuriated faculty, and triggered fear among students who see dissent as the next target. Against that backdrop, Mailman's remarks to the New York Times' Interesting Times podcast read like a thinly veiled ideological statement. Talking about her belief that the culture has weaponized victimhood, she said, "You can notice it in little pieces, like when Justice Kavanaugh was going through his confirmation hearings, the need for grievance sessions, the need for colouring books, the amount of emotional support people needed to suffer through Trump's electoral victory. And I think that there's this culture that universities have been perpetuating as well. Maybe I call it Meghan Markle Syndrome, where, like, the greatest good, the greatest height that you can be is a victim. So I think that's one thing." Later, talking about DEI admissions policies at universities, she said, "That type of behaviour is not only illegal, you can't treat people differently on the basis of their race, but it's harmful for so many reasons beyond that. You just want the best people no matter what they look like." She added, "The type of students that you obviously want diversity, But the whole idea of treating people differently based on whether they are oppressed or oppressors, and if it's seen as Meghan Markle, why does she want to appear like a victim? Because then she's special. There's something good about the late Queen Elizabeth not liking you, because you can then be a victim. Host Ross Douthat quipped, "I'm not sure it's actually worked out that well for her." Mailman, "She has a TV show, Douthat." She does have a TV show." Mailman, "I don't have a TV show, Douthat, not yet." Mailman's attack is a new front in the Trump-Sussex war. Eric Trump called the Sussexes spoiled apples and suggested that America might not want them anymore. He even floated the possibility of deporting Prince Harry if the Trump machine won back the White House. He told GB News, "You can always have bad actors in everything. You can have spoiled apples in every orchard." When asked during last year's election campaign whether he might order Harry deported, Donald Trump backpedaled, saying he wouldn't deport the prince because he's got enough problems with his wife. She's terrible. Want more royal gossip, scoops and scandals? Head over to the Royalist on Substack. Until next time, family, stay safe, stay blessed, and remember, Harry and Meghan are not the problem. The problem is the people who can't stand to see them shine, and shine they will.